Some of you may well be familiar with the spell framework, but we generally find that lots of people might have heard of it, but don't actually know what it is. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and hopefully show you some photographs to illustrate some of the elements. Before I introduce the framework, it's set in the context of the key kind of considerations of any form of intervention in autism. Intervention used in the widest sense of the word, it just means doing something to make a difference, to change something for individuals, to support somebody better or in a different way. And of course, any intervention should be individual. You know, that phrase, when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Everybody is unique and their autism is often manifested in different ways. If you put 100 people with autism in a room, the chances are that they'd all be very different in what you see. So that the individuality of any approach is really important. The second thing is recognizing the autism features, that any intervention should aim to reduce anxiety for people, to enhance motivation, to motivate people to do things, to enhance concentration or to remove distraction for people. And also bearing in mind that there's always a need to treat other conditions. Richard mentioned briefly at the beginning the other elements such as health issues. And if you know that somebody has allergies, for example, then it's important that people get treated for their allergies, because that can affect a whole range of things such as increasing their sensory sensitivity and just generally making them feel miserable and not necessarily wanting to do. Anybody here who has allergies will know what it's like if you have a bad reaction to something, or if you just are having a really bad hay fever day and you know, you don't really want to do anything. And so those are all important, and the issue about not falling into the trap of diagnostic overshadowing, where you effectively say, oh, well, that's just the autism. He's doing that because of the autism, without thinking, well, maybe he's got a headache, or maybe he's constipated, or maybe it's her time of the month. There might be a whole range of things that can affect how people interact and work with you. So those are all issues to think about. And then the final element of any intervention should be to play to the strengths of people. So not based on a deficiency model, but to think about, well, what can the person do? What are their skills and how can we build on those? And that's what the context is here. So this is a SPELL framework. SPELL S stands for structure, positive approaches and expectations, empathy, Richard has already mentioned, low arousal and links. And the framework has been in use and it was developed in 1964 or from then onwards by the National Autistic Society in consultation with people on the autism spectrum, their families and professionals. And it's been dynamic. It's been changed over time as we learn more and as people tell us what works for them in being supported. And the other important thing is that it's actually a very socially valid mechanism, because it's nothing more than makes life easier for all of us. Okay? We all need structure in our lives. How many of you have a diary in some format? Or have a calendar on the wall in the kitchen? Anybody use lists to help you to remember things? Sticky notes? Yeah? We all have things that we do to help us to remember and to sequence things, to work out how to do things, what order we need to do things, for example. We all need to be seen positively, valued and allowed to pursue our interests. If you work or live in an environment where you're constantly being put down and told, no, you can't do that, actually you don't feel very good about yourself. We all need other people to have empathy for our point of view and us for theirs. It's just a human need. We all need to reduce unhealthy stress and confrontation in our lives. And we all need to be treated fairly and consistently. We need to know that when we tell one person something, that actually that's going to be, we only have to tell them once, and they will understand and will be able to help us. So actually what I'm going to talk about briefly is just that. It's the same things that help us to have a better life, to make things easier for all of us. They're just more important to get right for people with autism in order to help to compensate, if you like, for some of the difficulties and the different ways of thinking that are associated with autism. So briefly, structure. So structure is really about enabling the individual to predict events. Richard mentioned about theory of mind, for example, and also executive functioning, being able to plan ahead, not being able to think about the next few steps. And structure is a way of helping people to be able to see what's going to happen in a way that's concrete, that doesn't just disappear. When you're told something, what happens to the words? They just go poof and they're gone. Yeah? When something's in written form or a picture or a list, it's much easier to go back and look at it and remember what's coming next. Okay, so structure is important for that. The environment, processes, routines, and programs that somebody is involved in are modified to enhance understanding, choice, learning, and communication. So they're modified in a way that make all of those things easier for people. And I'll give you some examples in a minute. Recognition that the lack of structure and open choices may create anxiety. The worst thing to do if you're supporting somebody with autism is to say, what would you like to do today, in general? Chances are the answer you'll get is the thing that they would do every day, every moment of every day. Their special interest, perhaps. But unless you've got some knowledge of what's available to you, and the means with which to make that choice, it's actually quite difficult to make a choice. So offering people something visual and something clear to see when you're offering them a choice is usually a much better way to do it. And structure is important because it facilitates what we call autonomous or independent action. It helps people to do things on their own without coming back for help. And if you are somebody who doesn't like talking to individuals, who wants to be able to do things themselves, and it's quite aversive to have to be told how to do things, to be given instructions, then you like to have as much independence as possible. So structure makes the world more predictable, it plays to visual strengths, it's concrete, not abstract, it helps to overcome the problems of sequencing associated with some of the things that Richard talked about earlier. It also speeds up processing. Many people with autism have difficulty in processing, in particular, verbal information. It's the hardest thing for all of us to process, is verbal information heard verbally. If you help people to see, if people have got something to follow, then that will help to speed up their ability to process information, and it reduces anxiety. And of course, it should be person-centered or individualized. You don't have the same structure for everyone, because people should be doing their own things and have their own, if you like, timetables and things that they're doing.